echo issues, so that's gonna be exciting.
Alright, and we should be all set to go. This is Frog's Adventures Temple of the Frog.
Just a real quick chat, if you can let us know if there's any weird audio issues going on, that would be greatly appreciated, because I cannot actually hear the stream.
And I'll go ahead and give a quick summary of what this game is all about while we get the audio all sorted, if there is anything to sort. This is Frog's Adventures Temple of the Frog, a launch title for the Game Boy Advance, and my first video game ever, so this should be a lot of fun. I usually play on German, but I'll go ahead and switch over to English. There's literally no difference in anything except the language itself. So, let's just go ahead and...
Apparently everything sounds good, so if you are ready, just count it down.
Alright, wonderful. I'm just gonna do this, and... Okay, we're good. So yeah, this was my first video game I ever played. Not just the first on the Game Boy Advance, but the first video game ever. This was my introduction to the world of video gaming. So, as per tradition, we set the lives to 9 and continues to 3 because setting lives at 9 is good for marathon safety, and setting continues to 3 means that if you lose all continues, then you really should be playing this game anyway in a marathon, so... That's my vote of confidence right there. We're gonna go ahead and select a new game. Set the file name to RPR. Red Panda Rush. Don't forget to get your donations in for the incentive for the game that I have later on, which is 102 Dalmatians, Temple of the Dalmatians. Puppies to the Rescue, in which you can select Domino or Oddball as the playable character. Without further ado, I shall get right into this run in 3, 2, 1, go. So the gist of this game is, you play as Frogger, obviously. And Firefly Swamp, your hometown, is dying because the evil Mr. D has, collected all the elements, stolen them, and distributed them throughout 5 perilous worlds. The first of which here is Goblin Caverns. So these red orbs I'm picking up are fire elements. There are 3 fire elements in the first stage and 5 in the second stage. The same will be the case with earth, water, and wind in later levels. And then there's a 5th element that is apparently like the temple element that you collect in the actual Temple of the Frog in the final world. So if you guys don't know who Mr. D is, you're gonna be in for a treat. Let's just say that. Feel free to stick around for the next 17 minutes while we get to him. Right at the end, we do a bit of mashing, just so we can skip some fanfare. That only works if you frame buffer your inputs, and I'll explain that in further detail a little bit later. This is the second level of the game, and it is easily one of the hardest in the entire speedrun. Because there are tons upon tons of screen-based and spawn-based timers. There are no global cycles as far as I'm aware in this game. However, there are some differences in what will appear and what won't appear when. So sometimes when you enter the screen, this timer starts, and with other enemies, it'll start as soon as you spawn back in from dying. So this is why I'm death warping around quite a bit. Also, this is a very precise trick. I'll have to see if I can focus a little bit and get it. That maneuvering I did right there was a very specific way to set up this Firefly's frames. Just so I can do... Aw, man, I was a little bit late on that one, but you get the idea. You can cross over right there. Also, I forgot that I don't need to collect that element anymore. That's fine. So I have a little bit more time to explain everything. I'll go ahead and explain frame buffers now. In this game, you can buffer any move into any other move, as long as you... Alright, I did not get the backup. I'm actually gonna have to do a little bit of work here to recover this. But, yeah, if you notice, I'm double tapping. I went ahead and put my inputs on screen. on the bottom right. That's not in-game. That's actually part of my stream layout. So yeah, we have to do this the slow way, which sucks, but it's better than dying over and over. So every time you double tap any directional pad direction, you actually get to log your next move. So basically what that means is if you double tap a button, both hops will come out because it saves the memory of whichever button you pressed. The fire here on this first boss fight is a little bit of RNG. However, it's not too bad. The most time you can lose is 1 second due to RNG. Unfortunately, we lost a little bit more there because we got something I call the long, which means the long cutscene. Normally, you can skip that cutscene with a bit of mashing, but sometimes, especially if it's the first run after booting up the console, it gives you the long cycle. So that costs about 3 seconds. Certain enemies you can super hop over with the A button like this, and certain others you can't. Pretty much if it doesn't look like it's lying on the ground, then you can't super hop over them. However, those boulders are actually too tall, apparently, to be able to hop over. This is the second world, by the way. This is Ancient Ruins. Watch carefully at my coin count right here. It goes up by 3, even though there were 2 coins on the ground. That's because they forgot to give graphics to the bottom rightmost coin. This entire level is based around, first treadmills, and secondly, waterfalls. Neither of which even matter in the speedrun, but this level used to terrify me as a child. You might notice I'm going out of my way to collect some coins along the way. I'm mostly collecting all the coins that are only 1 extra hop out of my way. I need these coins because I have to spend 125 of them in total in order to access the final levels of the game. It's basically in-game DLC. So we want to make sure we have at least 42 coins coming out of there, which we do. And here's our second boss, which is cleverly named Rattlesnake. These are usually very simple to deal with, these cycles. I just heard a Discord noise. I don't know if that's trouble for the call or not. I think we're still good.
Sorry, that's just me rejoining.
Okay, no worries.
I'm back.
Just wanted to make sure. So we have a few coins that we can grab along the way here. Being able to skip some of the coins in the waterfall level is a little dangerous, but it also saves some time, as long as you're confident in your ability to collect the coins that spawn here. Now, the reason I sit on this specific tile right here as the screen transitions is because it will spawn the switch on one of these 3 tiles on the right, the bottom right, every time. It's guaranteed if I sit right here. There's probably a faster way to manipulate it to do that, but I've yet to discover it. And that is what the TAS uses. However, the TAS itself is a little bit outdated, and I currently have a record that's 10 seconds faster than it. So, also you saw what I got there was Switch Glitch, which allows me to respawn the switch at the end of a round if it spawns 3 or fewer tiles away from me. Which is basically
one with a donation.
Absolutely.
We have a $10 from Resistor, who says, "First time watcher, first time donator, save the red pandas."
Let's go, Resistor. Thank you for the donation.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This is Seatown. The gimmick here is that, besides the aquatic creatures and everything being blue and all, you know, since you're underwater, you have a helmet on, so you can't use your tongue, which you'd normally be able to use to collect butterflies, and that's literally the only use for your tongue in the entire game. So it really doesn't matter. The reason I hang back on those crabs right there is because these eels are screen timers. I'm gonna do a death warp right here, get back to the checkpoint, and do it again. Crab train hype. The dance of my people.
Crab train.
Let's go. Alright, this is one of the most technically elaborate levels in the run. It doesn't look it, but there are a lot of tight cycles. And I'll explain a little bit better later on. You're not supposed to be able to slip past some of these enemies when they only have one extra tile space there. But it's not too difficult to do it. Like right here, these jellyfish have a very narrow hitbox, so you can do it just fine. You can hop over these eels, but for one reason or another, it's not beneficial to do in the speedrun. Nice, we made it. Shoutouts to these dolphins on the marquee down here. And welcome to what I used to think was 100% RNG until I figured out that the teleporters were consistent. So now this is a very easy fight. Basically I have to match all the ropes without getting caught by the shark, and make sure that the shark does not flip any of the switches back to off. So now we escape in an airship and head to Sky City, where we collect the the wind elements. This entire world has some very interesting strats that I hope I'll be able to pull off successfully. Well, I already forgot how to do them, so we're gonna be a little bit behind for the rest of the level. I'll have to wait for this cycle. And I'll actually have to wing most of the rest of the level, because of that. However, we will be able to make back a little bit of that time a little later. We're still tracking for a mid-19, I want to say. Which is good. As long as I get a sub-21, I'll be happy. You might notice me super hopping on some of the tile gaps that are a little larger than one tile. That's because you snap to a grid in this game. And the same reason that I'm able to do that and save a little bit of frameage is the reason that I'm able to not get moved around on the conveyors, because every time you hop, you get re-snapped to the grid. And it's pretty cool. Anyway. Arabian Nights, like Arabian days. Hotter than not, hotter than hot, and a lot of good ways. And I usually die on this part. Okay, we made it. Let's go. So if I'd gotten the good cycle, this platform would have been waiting for me right here, but unfortunately I did not, so that's fine. We have a good amount of coins right now. I think we have one to spare, actually, so that's a very good sign. Any coins that we're missing, we can make up at the end of this level. There's a treasure room that will allow us to go up to another death warp right here. We have to make sure we're at 112 coins leaving this level, and then we'll have to pay 50 of those coins to enter the first level of the Temple of the Frog after the boss fight. Right here's a very tight skip with these flying eyes, and we got it. Nice. That used to kill runs, but now it's not too bad. This was my first ever speed game too, by the way, if you're curious. So we're actually going to skip some checkpoints besides that one right there. Since we have an extra coin, we can afford to skip one coin here, which is good for extra safety. And we see we have 112 right now. I'm actually going to opt not to get that extra life because it's faster. And I don't usually have trouble with this part. I might elect to game over or use a continue on purpose in the second level of the Temple of the Frog. But I probably won't have to. Now this guy's name is Miharbi, but I like to call him the Trollton. Because it's all up to RNG whether he's able to grab a bunch of strings and clusters of gems and beat you on phase 3 with you having absolutely no say in it whatsoever. If he touches you, he'll stun you, and the orange gems take away one gem, so you do not want to touch the orange gems. Something interesting is that one single hop in this game takes 10 frames, and a super jump takes 60. So it's actually faster to hop around the gem, rather than super hop over one. if needs be. Alright, phase 3, Blessed RNGs. Got a really good cluster to start off with. I think we're good to go here, as long as he doesn't come across a cluster as well. Which he won't, because we grabbed that one. And now we're all set. Now, right here I'm gonna hope for a frame-perfect trick that will allow me to skip 1.5 seconds of cutscenes that involves smashing into the door, and we did not get it. If that worked, then the game would have thought that I was pressing an input direction once every frame, which is 2 times faster than TAS, and that would have allowed me to press the directional arrow on the same frame that it would have allowed me to skip past the little freeze frame at the end there. On some bosses, that actually soft locks the boss the entire game. But on this boss, that boss and the final phase of the final boss, it actually saves 1.5 seconds. And it's one of the very few places I still have time save in my world record run. So you notice I have 72 coins now. I pull off a little ghost skip back there, which you might have noticed. It's very difficult to get that trick, but it does save about 5 seconds. There are 3 more coins in this level. 2 of which you can see right over to the right there. And there's the other one. This is the Temple of the Frog. Thanks for the Blessed RNGs, by the way. We're gonna need those Blessed RNGs again when we enter phase 1 of the final boss fight. And I'm gonna go ahead and go for some really scary strats here. I do not recommend these. You have to get 2 frame-perfect tricks. There's the first one. And coming up is Pinball Skip, which is Pinball Skip 2.0, which is almost impossible. And we caught it! Let's go! Are you kidding me? Let's freaking go, dude! Well, that's supposed to save a cycle there, but I actually didn't get the button in time because I'm not used to being able to pull that off. Wow. Let's go, Marathon Luck. Right, there's a bit of new routing. Once again, these conveyors do not matter. Actually have to hop over those spikes because if you get that strat, then it'll mess up the global cycle, or the not the global cycle, the spawn cycle that determines when the spikes crop up. Unfortunately, I just wasted literally all of that time saved because I did not get the checkpoints. And I wasn't paying attention to my jump there. That was an easy jump right there. Leave it to me to get 2 frame-perfect tricks and then die. So we're actually going to be grabbing some checkpoints here. Unfortunately, it probably won't matter because if I die at this point, I will not be able to use the checkpoint to revive. Because I use a continue and that starts back at the beginning of the stage. Anyway, one thing that I did not explain about how the movement works in this game. Be careful there. That's the next checkpoint I would have gotten. But we'll be fine. In fact, I'm going to die on the final boss in just a second here. I'll explain that thing I was going to a little later. But yeah, here is Mr. D. He is Death Incarnate. I'm gonna die right here on purpose to get a continue back. Because you do not want to start this boss fight over. It takes 3 minutes straight. This is the biggest element of RNG in the entire game. Right here toward the end. Usually around the 15 or 16 minute mark if you're on record pace. So you have to wait for all of those fireballs to clear out before you can go around collecting the elements. And that can be a problem if they decide to spawn in large numbers and move slowly. And right toward the end of the spawn cycle, which is as soon as the fire bar disappears. So just sit on top of the final element there and we're good to go. That was the fire element. This is earth, by far the easiest. Feel free to drop your sour pleases into the chat, indeed. And I tested this in my TAS unfortunately is impossible to gather all of the elements in the same cycle, so you have to 2-cycle every one of these phases, unfortunately. But it does give me some time to finally explain what I wanted to explain about the movements in this game. I was talking about frame buffers, where you can buffer your next input without worrying about being frame perfect. And the only move you can't do that with, like, I can buffer 2 hops in a row just fine like this. The only move you can't do that with is the super hop. You can't buffer anything until the super hop is completed in its entirety, which means you need to wait exactly 60 frames in order to input your next move frame perfectly. So that's the major caveat to being able to run this game. And honestly, because of that frame buffer, I highly recommend this as anyone's first speed game. If you enjoy Frogger, then you will love this game. Also, a quick note on this phase, the water phase. When I was young, all I had was the original Game Boy Advance, and you already know how bad the screens are on that thing. But the contrast was messed up, so these last 2 phases, I literally could not see the screen. I could not see the projectiles, so I just had to hop around and hope for the best, which led to me not completing this game for months, probably. However, fortunately now, I do have an opportunity to get my sweet revenge. Wait for the 5 of those, and now I'm actually going to take a different route, right here, which will allow me to put myself in a good position to run and head up toward the door a little bit faster than usual. There is a cutscene at the end of this phase that you're locked into. And positioning yourself right here where I will, once this guy gets out of the way, will allow me to skip a little bit of that. And welcome to the final showdown, where you actually get to use the elements against Death himself. So time is coming up very soon as the ending screen pops up, which is right after this whole arena disappears. Once again, I'm going to try to get that frame perfect trick, and I did not get it, but that's fine. 3, 2, 1, there it is. Time. GG.
Great run.
Thank you very much.
And
time too.
congratulations on killing Death as a frog.
Yeah, just imagine that. It's a pretty biblical tale, I want to say. But yeah, really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and show off how well I know this game. I'm gonna cover my eyes and turn around. I'm not sure if you ever got the webcam up on stream, otherwise you'll just have to trust me on that. Here we go.
We believe you.
Alright. Frogger, you have done it. You have saved Firefly Swamp for all of us. Thanks to you, our sacred Temple of the Frog is free of the evil Mr. D. All's clear under the sea, Frogger. I salute you. Thanks, guys. It was no problem. That Mr. D and his pals are a real pain, but they should not be messing with our swamp. Being outside the swamp can be real cool, too. I met this real fairy. Hi, Frogger. I knew that you could save the swamp because you've always been so very brave. And remember, no one but you is able to see me. What did you say, Frogger? A real fairy? No, I said being outside the swamp can be cool, but I'm really very happy to go home now. See you back at the swamp.